Hello everyone, Giltar here with part 2 of the review of the 1 to 144 scale high-grade universal sentry MS-18E Kampfer. Now there was actually a couple of points that I missed in part 1 of the review, so I'll go over them now. There were 2 points of articulation that I forgot to mention. First is actually the knee armor has some wiggle. They are hinged, so they do allow some movement, and also the arms do rotate fully just below the shoulder there. And another point I missed were basically the hands. You have actually 5 hands in total. You have an open sort of finger hand with interesting pose there for just posing it alone, or with gripping the shotgun weapons. Another point of detail is that you get 2 trigger finger hands, right and left, and the pegs on those hands are angled, so it allows more naturalistic posing because of the stock and the larger forearm. With the angled peg, you have a gun grip that has no problems with posing. It doesn't get in the way. For example, the Zekuans had a straight peg system with a large gun and a large forearm, and that just really limited its posing potential. Whereas with this angled joint, it allows you to really get this gun into different positions if you wanted to. And it also comes with 2 standard grip fists for holding things like the beam sabers. Now, moving on to the pros and cons of the model kit. As normal, I'll go on to my cons. And these cons are really minor, to be honest. The first con would be the scale. It actually is not accurate in size, or rather height, because the Kampfer is supposed to be slightly shorter than the Alex. The Alex is 18 meters tall, the Kampfer is 17.7 meters tall. And just simply by measuring at the top of the head of both model kits, you can see that when they're standing straight up, the Kampfer is actually slightly taller. It actually should be reversed. It should be the Alex should be slightly taller than the Kampfer. So that is one point of criticism. I know for most of you guys out there, it's not an important point, but it is something that plays into the display function of model kits. And if you are posing the Kampfer with the Alex, depending on how you pose them, like if they're standing straight up, it is noticeable. If they're crouched in sort of battle postures, then it's not a big deal. But for some people out there who do pay attention to scale, because these are scaled products. It's 1 to 144 scale, so the size of these model kits is a significant factor for many people. It may not be the most significant factor, but it can play a role for issues with posing. So that is one con. Another con is that it does require some tricky painting. Now, personally, I don't mind that. I'm of the opinion that model kits should have more work involved. And this is something that I'll probably be posting a video question on, because some guys brought up some great points with my last question about what do you consider Gundam or Gunpla models to be? Are they toys or action figures, or are they adult collectibles? And it was sparked off by TC012009's question, one of his comments he left in another video. But anyways, I think that personally, while I don't mind it, a lot of people, because they don't really want to get into painting their models, note that the vernier thrusters, for example, are supposed to be yellow on the inside. There are points on the model kit that are supposed to be yellow as well, like front of the pelvis, back of the pelvis, and other parts of the torso. And there's just some tricky painting or color application required to make the Kampfer more accurate to the artwork. So that is a criticism that I'll be throwing out there for some of you guys who just don't want to paint your models. And that's valid, because fact of the matter is, these model kits come pre-colored for a reason, so that you don't have to completely paint a model. And in this case, there are no stickers for parts like the thrusters and other parts of the armor, so you will have to paint or use paint markers or something to make it more accurate. And that is a concern for some of you guys, so I will be mentioning that, or rather I have mentioned that. Now, as for the pros, then, I think, to be honest, I have nothing but good things to say about this model kit. The construction is very tight in the literal sense and as a design, because I think the model kit has so many points of articulation that, despite the one weak point of the knee where it can't bend that far due to the thruster placement, all the other points of articulation, of the many points of articulation on this model kit, have a wide range of movement. I mean, especially the ankles, which really add to the posability of the Kampfer on a solid, flat surface. You don't have to have an action base to bring out the full potential of this model kit. You're just fine being on a table or some other flat surface. And with all the points of articulation, I mean, you could get this in pretty much any way you want. I do have to mention again that the fuller neck component that we see on the Kampfer is something that, from what I've looked into, I think the Yak-Doga of the high-grade Universal Sentry line was the first model kit that came out a couple of years ago that implemented this fuller neck design, this fuller neck component that does not give the impression of a thin pencil peg joint neck when you're moving the head up and down, for example. So I really like that point, and I'm hoping that Bandai will stick with that, because they are showing that with their newer model kits, the ones coming from the Universal Sentry line, like the Unicorn Gundam models. And I'm hoping the Zaku F2 there will retain that neck component, because it's such a good point of model engineering that adds to functionality and aesthetics, the appearance. So that's point one. It's really posable, great articulation. Point two would be the accessories. You get 2 shotguns with optional grips. You have 2 giant bazookas, 2 Sturmfausts, 2 beam sabers, 1 chain mine. Most of them can be mounted on the model kit, and you just get this really nice array of accessories that again adds depth to the display potential. So you get combined the high level of articulation, many accessories, and then you get a really sort of rich model kit in terms of how you want to display it. You can do a lot of different things with it, and there's no problems. So the accessories, the wide assortment is another great point. In addition, you get all the different hands you can use with the accessories, so that's another great point as well. For the third point is just simply the design. I think the Kampfer is a great looking design for a mecha, for a mobile suit. Yutaka Izubuchi really brought in his A game. He brings together a great mix of traditional Zeonic design elements, like the sort of curved, wider proportions and forms, big shoulder pads, spike armor, mono eye, commander crest, all the traditional Zeon design points. But he then mixes in some more contemporary design points, like making more real-world looking weaponry. These are essentially upscaled, plausible designs, I would say. They do have a sci-fi element to them to make them look a little more fantastic, but there's no mistaking that this is like a sort of a modified bazooka, that this is a modified shotgun. And all the other surface details on the model kit, which just offer a great opportunity for accenting with paints or model markers, and your own paints as well. There's a lot of potential here for really taking this model to the next level. All the different thrusters, despite the sort of bulky proportions, all the different thrusters and the way that they're placed, and sort of the forward-angled design of the Kampfer, like the Sazabi, gives it, even though it's big and bulky and strong-looking, gives it a sort of subtle menace that it could spring forward at any given moment to attack you. And especially the thrusters really add to that that sort of implication, that insinuation that this is something that's a mobile armor, mobile suit design, essentially. And the final point that I really like about this model kit is that it does have a vehicular design to the torso. It's more elongated. It doesn't look like a standard humanoid mobile suit torso. It has something that looks like, it's almost, I guess, to me, almost like a spaceship or an aquatic design. It almost looks like a cockpit section of a vehicle that's not, a mobile suit armor, essentially. So I would say that it's a really nice looking design, and I think for anyone who likes Zeon designs, the Kampfer is a nice option for something that is unique, but taps into both Zeon designs and something a little different, some extra flavor. And overall, I think with all the good points of this model kit, for 1,800 yen, or basically $19 to $20 American, you can't go wrong with the Kampfer. I think it's a great addition to any collection, and especially if you have the Alex, it's a great way to pose off these 2 model kits for different scenes, or if you get into dioramas, for example, it'd be great for something like that. So overall, definitely recommend the Kampfer. Excellent design. Whatever nitpicks and criticisms I have are extremely minor in the overall picture of this product. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, got something out of it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.